Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to my review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I was lucky enough to be able to see this film at an early fan screening. Oh, that's upside down. In IMAX. And yes, they gave me this poster, this beautiful poster. So I'm very lucky to be able to give this review to you the same time as a bunch of other big critics who usually are able to get their reviews out before everyone else. Um, and I'm able to give a review before most of the audience has seen it. So awesome for me. But I'll let you guys know how it is. So, what did I think of this movie? Well, I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. It exceeded my expectations in every single aspect that it possibly could. Um, the trailers for me for this movie were pretty weak, in my opinion. Uh, so trust me when I say that the movie is so much better than the trailers make it look. A lot better. Um, my favorite aspect would probably have to be the action in this movie. It is just incredibly choreographed. I mean, it's like next level action. I think it's the best action easily in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. It even like the three best action scenes within this movie are probably like the three best action scenes within the entire universe. Um, and it's honestly some of the best action I've seen in the last decade. It's not quite like Raid level. I'd say it's like John Wick or so level, which is really good. Um, there are many amazing set pieces within this movie, in many different settings. And the physics of the fights are they're a little exaggerated. They're still very believable, even though some of the moves are a little exaggerated. So yeah, my favorite aspect is almost definitely the action. So you have that to look forward to. Another great visual aspect of this movie is, of course, the cinematography. I think it's maybe the most beautiful MCU movie that has been released so far. I'm not completely sure. It's up there with like Doctor Strange and Guardians 2 and those types of movies. It's just it's really diverse in its cinematography. The colors are rich and vibrant. Whether it's scenes in like a neon lit city at night or a temple while it's snowing, all of it is just beautiful to look at. And in the third act, there are many visual callbacks the to scenes that happened in the first act of the movie, which also help progress the characters in the story. So it's not only beautiful to look at, it also serves a very deep purpose to the story. Everyone in the cast here does a serviceable job. I would say that the easy standout within this movie, for me personally, would be Tony Leung as the Mandarin. He is just, his character is very sympathetic as well as badass. He pulls off both of those. His the character work that he does as an actor, it's very layered and compelling to watch. He was easily the character who I was most like compelled by within the movie. You understand why he makes all of his decisions and you feel for him, which is a great aspect for any villain. And his performance will definitely be the one that sticks with me the longest afterwards after this movie, you know, English. Yeah, so he was easily the standout for me. Next would probably be Michelle Yeoh. Um, she has a smaller supporting role here. She doesn't have a big role, but in the small amount of time she has here, she is able to provide a like strong presence for these characters, as the wise and intelligent teacher to them. And you can feel her past pain and emotions within her performance, even though it isn't directly called attention to. Then we got Aquafina. I'm no longer ranking, by the way. I know Tony Lung's top, then Michelle, and then let's just talk about everyone else. Those were the top two. So Aquafina, she was less annoying and grating than I expected her to be. She's responsible for most of the humor within this movie, and um, while some of her jokes don't land and she can be annoying at times, um, for the majority of the film, she fits right in and she provides a lot of the laughs within the movie. And she also has her own mini character arc inside the movie which I appreciated instead of just having her be the static comic relief that doesn't um, do much besides provide laughs. So she did a good job. Not as grating as I expected, and overall a good character. She's kind of like our eyes into this universe, the human character. Um, the other person who I would say is most responsible for the laughs within this movie would be Mr. or Sir Ben Kingsley. I don't want to spoil anything about him or his role or anything, so I'll just say if you're a Ben Kingsley fan, I think you'll be happy with the size of his role. So that's all I'll say about that. Simu Liu as the lead. I think he does a good job uh, as the leading man here. There were multiple times where his acting felt kind of wooden to me, and I think the emotional scenes that his character has in the hands of a different actor could be more impactful and powerful. But they still work. Like the whole movie really does work. But I do feel those scenes were slightly hindered a little bit by his acting ability. But overall, I mean, that's kind of nitpicking. There have been other leading performances within the MCU that are not super um, emotional and are kind of wooden. Um, he's about the same as like Brie Larson and Captain Marvel. So overall, he brings the right amount of charisma and commitment to the action that makes him a very likable lead. So it's not like he isn't likable. I just feel like he could have done a little more with it, but he still does a great job with what he is given. So the child actors throughout this movie, there are a few different ones for different times within each character's life. They were all surprisingly good, especially for child actors who are sometimes, wishy-washy. Uh, the actress who plays Shang-Chi's sister, uh, I would say also felt wooden at times, like more so than Simu Liu. Um, but that wasn't a huge deal because she wasn't like the hugest, most important role. Uh, there were a few moments within the first 15 minutes of this movie, as we establish Shang-Chi's life in San Francisco, and there are times in those first 15 minutes that felt kind of unrealistic and like him and Aquafina may not have the best chemistry. But once the story kicks in, like soon after that, all of those issues disappear. So it takes a little bit of getting used to in the beginning, but once it starts, we're right into it and uh, don't have an issue with it again throughout the rest of the movie. So those would be my major complaints for the film. So those are kind of nitpicks, I would say, in my opinion. There's not a ton I can complain about. Um, Moving on to other stuff that I like about this movie. The film does not have a typical story structure that you would see within a lot of these action movies, which is nice for the MCU, since a lot of times they're a little formulaic, especially in the way their story plays out. So while there are slow points throughout this movie, especially in the second act, I'd say it's overall very well paced as an overall movie. Um, I'd say that this is even more of an accomplishment, the pacing, because the movie has many, 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 many flashbacks, like a lot of flashbacks sprinkled throughout the entire run of the movie, even multiple times in the third act, which is not a common thing in a ton of third acts. So this had potential to take people out of the movie or throw people off or just mess up the pacing. But the flashbacks are very important to the characters, to the story, to the whole thing. So, and they were placed in just the right moments. So they don't throw anything off and they actually provide a lot more to the story than would be there without them. So great job with that, Destin Daniel Cretton. Just overall, as a director, um, he does an amazing job here. Everything in this movie is very well directed. I don't know what else I can really say besides an amazing job as a director. I really hope he continues on in the MCU, does Shang-Chi 2, and yeah, great job. Other parts of the movie that I liked, the vastly different locations in this movie. They all embrace different parts of Asian culture, which made it overall feel very authentic as well as fantastical. And all I'll say is that there are certain worlds and locations that are new, that are introduced in this movie, that are just as, if not bigger, than Wakanda in terms of power and importance in the future of the MCU. There are some huge things introduced here, and that even surprised me. Finally, I want to touch on the themes of this film, especially the theme of family within the film, and the relationship between Wenwu, who is Tony Young, and his kids. It's a very complex, cathartic, and just emotional relationship. I think it's the emotional centerpiece of the entire movie. Um, it's possibly, I think, the most dynamic and interesting parent-child relationship within the entire Marvel universe. It's really well done. Just the family dynamic overall, and certain past events within the family, and just everything about like this core family at the center of this movie is what kept me emotionally invested in the entire story, and it kept me invested for the whole film. So that was really a huge standout for me as someone who loves the Star Wars universe, and a big part of that universe is family and connection and all of that. Dark side, hope, choosing the right side, all of that stuff. Um, Stuff that I like, and that stuff was present here, possibly more so than in any other Marvel movie. So that really pulled me in, and I really liked that. And just overall, such an amazing film. I think this will be in most people's top tier of the MCU. I think this will have a very high score on all critics and audience places, unless there's racism involved, but hopefully not. This is such a good movie. It deserves all of you to see it on the biggest screen possible. I saw it. This is the first movie I've ever seen in IMAX. And yeah, it was amazing. So yeah, such a visual feast for the eyes, as well as a great emotional story with great action. So please check out Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings when it hits theaters very soon, September 3rd. And comment down below what you're expecting from the movie when you see it, what you think about it, all that stuff. And yeah, thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like the video, and I'll see you next time.